You will reach people if you apply these simple ideas. Hi, I'm Darren Ride from 12 Church, where we are trying to be all in on mission with Jesus, which means, among other things, that we're trying to figure out how to reach people in this time and this place with the gospel. Not the 50s, not the 80s, not the 90s, not 2005, but in this time, because things have changed. And the things that worked in the past to reach people don't always work today. 9 months ago, I did a 3-evening personal evangelism crash course for a church. Following that training, we did a monthly call-in called an Evangelism Booster, where people would call in on our video call. We would report how we were doing in personal evangelism. There would be a bit of training, and then we pray for each other and for our seeker friends. While doing this, of course, I've been doing 12 Church, where we do a weekly micro-evangelism training. And so the two things kind of overlapped and were combined. And I found it interesting in those 9 monthly booster calls, which aspect of personal evangelism I chose to highlight. I want to share with you the 7 ideas I reiterated again and again. Ideas which, if you apply them in your personal evangelism life, you will see people come to faith. The first idea, one that has become a real core idea in 12 Church, is what we call pray and pay attention. Pray and pay attention. Just start praying for the people in your life, the people you see every day or several times a week, and just start praying for them and see which ones surface. Pay attention to what God does in their lives. Pay attention to the ones who are attracted to you and want to spend time with you. I've shared that half of evangelism is intercession, and it's this praying and paying attention that gets you moving in the right direction as a personal evangelist. Just try it. Start praying for people according to Acts 26:18, that their eyes would be opened, that they would turn from darkness to light, from the power of Satan to God, that they would receive forgiveness of sins and a place among those sanctified by faith in Jesus. Start praying for them, even if you don't know their names, and see what happens. Pray and pay attention. The second thing that we highlighted many times were the 3 secret weapons that showed up in the basic training. These are secret weapons in the sense that people don't understand just how powerful they are. But if we start doing these things, we start to build bridges with those who don't know Jesus. Secret weapon number 1 was simply to be an encourager. To go out of your way to encourage people. The waitress at the restaurant, the people you meet through the week, dentists, dental assistants, people on the street. Just a word of affirmation and encouragement goes a long ways. In fact, this secret weapon has become more powerful over the last months and years, where there's so much negativity, where there's a lot of complaining in stores and in restaurants and everywhere you go. If you come in as a positive voice, it sets you apart. It's part of being salt and light. The second secret weapon was to be vulnerable. That is, to ask for help when you need it. Not to show up as the person who has all the answers, who gives all the help, but to ask for help. In fact, with your seeker friends, it will be easier for them to ask you for help after you've asked them for help. For instance, in my life, I was looking at buying a piece of equipment for my pickup truck. My neighbor had the same piece of equipment, so I asked him for his input. And he was more than willing to give input on that and all kinds of other accessories for my pickup. Be vulnerable. Ask for help. The third secret weapon is to actually pray for people on the spot when they share something that needs prayer. Now, this typically happens when you're down the road a ways in a friendship with them. And they might share something that's heavy on their heart, a crisis, a health need. And then you ask, under the prompting of the Spirit for sure, but be alert to the possibility, may I pray for you? And if they say yes, which they almost always do, pray for them right then and there. It might be appropriate to place your hand on their shoulder and pray for them. By them giving permission for you to pray for them, they've opened the door in at least a small way for God's involvement in their life. And as you pray, God is involved in their life. So use those 3 secret weapons: encouragement, vulnerability, and praying in person. Something else we've highlighted several times is the 3-stanza answer to the question of what you believe. I got this off of Brady Shearer, who got it off of one of his pastors. And it goes like this. If someone asks you what you believe, here is a way to answer that question. I believe that I was placed on this earth to make a positive difference in the world. I believe that this best happens through acting in love. And I believe the best example of love is the person of Jesus Christ. And what I like about that answer is it moves very quickly from, general generic beliefs right to the person of Jesus. And here's a little tip. As you get to know someone, you might ask them what they believe. And if you ask them what they believe and you're in a friendship relationship, they will, maybe at the same time, ask you what you believe. How would you answer that question? Let me suggest that three-stanza response as a possibility. You can personalize it, but follow the basic idea of how to move the conversation toward the person of Jesus. One very important principle as you pray and pay attention is to look for people of peace. People of peace. Jesus talked to his disciples about that as he sent them out 2 by 2. He said, pay attention to these people of peace who will be responsive to you. People of peace are those who aren't yet believers, but who are warm, receptive to you and to the gospel message. When they find out that you are a religious fanatic of some kind, they're not turned off. They don't run away. And many times these people of peace are very well connected in the community or the circles in which you are called to be an agent of Jesus Christ. So pay attention to them. Spend more time with them. These are the people that God is then calling you to invest more time and more of your life into, because they can be early converts to the faith in whatever circle or location you're in, and they can be an avenue for the gospel into other people. We talked about natural rhythms. Natural rhythms. Things like eating. You eat somewhere between 15 and 21 times a week. Well, capture those natural rhythms of eating or exercise or leisure and use them for personal evangelism. Use one of those meal times or coffee breaks to spend time with someone who isn't a follower of Jesus Christ. If you're engaged in some kind of hobby, engage in that hobby with people who don't know Jesus. Just do what you're already doing, but with an intention towards bridge building, relationship building, and ultimately personal evangelism. This is very important because evangelism is not supposed to be just one little slice, one little compartment of our life, but something that is integrated into all we are and all we do as disciples who make disciples. So look at your natural rhythms and see which ones of them can be captured for the purpose of evangelism. The 7 and 7 principle, very important principle. This idea says that people typically need to hear the gospel multiple times, let's say 7 times, before they respond, and they need to know several people who are passionate followers of Jesus. So we call it 7 and 7. 7 times hearing the gospel, knowing 7 people who know Jesus. Now, of course, it's not exactly 7. The point is, it's multiple times and multiple people. That you can expect in a de-churched world, an unchurched world, to sit down with someone, share your story, share the gospel, and have them respond immediately when they've never heard the story before. Sometimes, yes, it happens. But most of the time today, there's a bit more of a progression. So they might hear the gospel through your story. They might hear it when you present the gospel. They might hear it through some special event, a Christmas Eve service or something. Or maybe some kind of a show you watch together. Or maybe from someone else who's in their life. They will hear the gospel multiple times. And when that is bolstered by meeting people who are passionate followers of Jesus, that makes the gospel both seen and heard and brings them to faith. Now, if you think of this principle, it will change the way you do personal evangelism. It will help you understand that personal evangelism is not just me trying to reach my friends and you trying to reach your friends. It's us trying to reach our friends together. And so you will do things not just with your seeker friends, but with your seeker friends and other on-mission believers. It changes the way you do evangelism in a good way. Before I share the last principle that's part of the personal evangelism booster calls, there is a link in the notes here for the personal evangelism crash course. You can sign up and take it anytime. Hear about these principles and others in more depth. Make sure you take this training. Finally, the final principle that we've highlighted many times in 12 Church and in these evangelism boosters is the idea of praying for miracles. It arises from Acts chapter 4, where Peter and John are thrown in prison, told not to talk about Jesus. They go back to their people. They have a prayer meeting, most of which is simply praying about all the things God has done, how great He is, how sovereign He is. But then they pray, Lord, you see the opposition, stretch out your hand, perform signs and wonders, do some stuff that we can't do. It's not that they are just praying for a specific miracle in a specific place for a specific person. They are praying in a general sense. God, would you back up your message through us with miracles? And so we've been encouraging our people to pray that way. See, God, as we go out and about, would you be doing some miracles? And we're praying specifically in our context that people who don't know Jesus, who we pray for, would be physically healed. But pray for miracles and begin to see what God will do. So there you have it. 7 highlights from the Personal Evangelism Crash Course Booster Calls. Which one of these will you apply right now, today? Any one of these will move you ahead as a witness, as a representative for Jesus Christ.